Welcome back. Here's where you left off. Spoilers ahead for Time Risk, Book 1 by Elyse Douglas.
Time Risk by Elyse Douglas, Book 1. This is a full book review of Time Risk, and we come across this book very differently what we normally do, look at books. And this came out of nowhere. Actually, Derek, you're the one who actually told me about this book. And it's kind of interesting because when we looked at Time Risk at the beginning, we actually saw book 2 first. Then we're like, hey, this book 2 looks pretty interesting. We should read book 1 first. So we did. We ended up doing a full read instead of doing a normal chapter breakdown, but we ended up doing a full read so we can actually read book 2 properly, the way we do things, the way it should be done during book reviews, our way, not the other people's way. But it's a very interesting story. It's about Rachel Hunt going to the past just before the bombing of Pearl Harbor to save a billionaire's son, a billionaire's father, so he can grow up normal without any daddy issue. So
yeah, it's like, okay, so you're a billionaire, but you have daddy issues, so you want to spend your billions to send back in time so that you don't have daddy issues, but then you change the timeline. This is why we like the book, because there's lots of questions that come out of it. Like,
there was a lot of questions on my end. You go ahead, Derek. You tell me. Let's do this properly. Then let's talk about the book first, and let's talk about the storyline. What do you think about it? Then let's talk about our questions regarding timelines and how we proceed, how we interpreted our way, our personal opinions regarding time travels, and how to build it as a story. I think that's the best way to do this, because we both agreed.
You kind of lost me there.
Okay,
go over that again, buddy.
So let's talk about the book itself, the storyline, about Rachel Hunt and how everything is done and all that good stuff. And after that, at the end, let's talk about how the time travel worked. I think we separate that. It'll be easier because...
Yeah, let's just separate that. So Rachel is a no-nonsense person. She's very much shoot from the hip, very no-nonsense, tells you the way it is. She doesn't have any time for BS. She's just there in your face all the time.
Yeah. So the reason why she ended up going back to the past is because she used to be a cop. Her partner got shot. Her sister was killed some accident. Her dad committed suicide, I believe, and she really doesn't have anyone else left except her partner. But her partner was shot in the line of duty, and she's just lost. She's trying to figure out what to do and all that good stuff. But she ended up leaving the force, or got fired, I can't remember. But she ended up leaving the force, and she was being interviewed, and she got interviewed to do this job, to go to the past. She was a little hesitant because time travel in 2024, where the book is, where the present is, quote unquote, is located. The year is. Time travel wasn't really into anybody's radar, but this billionaire Andrew noticed he uses billions to say, hey, let's go build a time machine to send someone back to save my dad, so I don't have to grow up without being in a foster system, because my mom passed away a few years after my dad passed away from bombing in Pearl Harbor. Right? I think that's the best way. That's the best synopsis. How Rachel Hunt is part of the team to go back to the past to save Andrew's father. But when she got to the past, before she went to the past, she found out that the company, the team, sent several people to the past for testing. And one of the people that went back to the past is a gentleman. Hippie-like. He said, I'll pay X amount of money for me to go back to the 60s because I really want to check it out. So he went back.
Yeah.
He's supposed to go back to the future, but he didn't do it. So they presume he was dead. But here's the thing, though. They used a pager size of an old school iPod to relay back to the future. Say, hey, I'm good here. Hey, I need to send me back to the future now. So, with that said, do you want to continue this, or you want me to keep going?
Well, I mean, there's the plot line here, and then there's the questions about, was this realistic or scientifically accurate, or I think it brought up a lot of
accuracy
questions
based on sci-fi.
But what I'll say to you is that they didn't shove a lot of sci-fi into your face. It was about the storyline. It was about her going back. And well, the thing I found most interesting about the book is that the actual guy, the reason she went back in time, was really not a big part of the book. In fact, a very, very small part of the book. It was more about her journey to go back through time and sort of discover herself and figure out, to learn lessons for herself in her life. And I did very much appreciate the fact that she had a knowledge of, well, if I, step on a bug or something, it might be a problem. But in the end, she interacts with a number of different people. And, in the end, as you would say, it doesn't necessarily end in a good way because she achieves her mission. She's injured. She goes back to the future and there are changes there. And, we'll discuss that in a minute. But my question to you is, how do you feel about the overall arc of her character during the book? Because that was the main purpose of the book.
Rachel's Hunt, the character Rachel Hunt is, in my opinion, very good. She had to go through a lot of things. Remember, she thinks going to the past is her first timer. She's like the pioneer, right? So when she got to the past, she had to, throughout the whole book, she had to remind herself that she can't say certain things, she can't say certain words because it's not period appropriate, right? So throughout the whole book itself, she was trying to adjust herself. You can actually read it throughout the whole book itself that she's adjusting herself very well in the 1930s, right? And when the only thing that she sort of like, her instincts came out because she's from the future, quote unquote, is when she was attacked. She ended up doing, what did she doing? She's doing jiu-jitsu and a couple of self-defense training that no one's seen before, and she disarmed and brought one person to the hospital from defending herself, and no one's seen that before. And that's when she realized, oh, I have to be careful because I've done things that at that time only certain culture has those kind of trainings, not your typical American.
Well, I mean, a female of that time, and I mean, even in that time, they talked about her knowing judo or her knowing some form of martial arts, and really back then, judo was probably the only thing that, at that time period in history where people were really truly familiar with. A lot of the martial arts, jiu-jitsu and all that wasn't really mainstream. People didn't really know about it that much in the 40s. And so her being able to pull off that stuff would have been very unusual, especially for a woman doing it at that time. And the fact she kicked their butts pretty thoroughly, although very satisfying for us, would have been terrifying for them at that time.
That's correct. So throughout the whole book itself, she's trying to maneuver her way through it, and she finally decided, hey, let's go do what I was supposed to be doing back at this time. It's to save Andrew's father's life. And she ended up going through things that the process trying to save his life. She ended up interacting with several people regarding, one of them is two of them a news reporter, okay? One of the news reporters is actually the same guy that went back to the past, and he ended up trying to stop the bombing of Pearl Harbor. That's a very interesting part of this whole book now, right? So
he was the one who paid them a lot of money to send them back in time. It's weird because you wonder. He was one of the characters that I wanted to talk to you about. What do you think his motivation was? Was it money? Was it fame? Was it to change history? I think he was chasing fame and recognition versus truly changing history.
Yeah, I agree. He already said several times, I'm here to change to pass so I can be famous. I can be this famous writer, famous reporter, right? And he was trying to convince the U.S. government that Pearl Harbor is going to be attacked at this time. There's a fleet from Japan's coming over. The naval the intelligence community is like, no, you are wrong. No, nothing's going to be happening. They're not going to attack us. If they're going to attack us, they're going to attack Philippines first. Blah 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 blah. And he was trying to talk to people, but there's actually a passage in one of the chapters saying that the military is trying to shut me down because apparently I've released certain classified materials that no one should know about. So there's even scenes that they are following him, because remember, Rachel and this guy ending up meeting on a bus by accident. It's not by design, by accident, and she ending up getting caught in his fiasco. That's why she ended up getting a target in her back from the military, thinking that she is a spy at one point. And the other point, there's one time too. The same reporter was murdered. They're trying to pin the murder at her in the same time. So there was a lot of things that in this book that Rachel Hunt, the main character, is trying to accomplish a mission, but there's certain things that happen not by accident, that she ended up getting caught in this certain stuff that she just doesn't need to deal with. If she ended up doing so, this is where the parallels start coming in regarding time travel now, right? So this reporter's job is wants to stop the war. Even Rachel even said, what happened if I stopped the war? Would this never happened? Or those kinds. So there was a lot of her character questioning, should I stop the invasion, or should I keep? If I stop the invasion, my primary goal, saving Andrew's father's life, is good. That's means he doesn't have to go to war, right? So there's a lot. You know,
there's a lot of deep questions there. Like, for example, she stops the war. Okay. She's not really going to stop anything. You don't stop the war. The Japanese intended to attack. They intended to take over the Philippines and all that. You weren't going to stop that. The only thing you're going to stop is the surprise of them attacking, which would have changed the calculation of how the U.S. military responded. They would have more ships coming out of it, more people, so forth, so on. But if you look from a historical perspective, what would you have changed? They still would have been at war because Japan already chose to attack them. That wouldn't have been changed anything. So when people say they want to stop Pearl Harbor, what they mean is they want to stop the surprise from happening and reduce the amount of lives lost in that moment. Not really they stop the war, but they stop that moment from happening. The second thing is, if you stop that, you might change the mentality of the Americans, because the Americans, up to that singular moment, as a group of people, didn't want to be in the war. War had been raging since 1939. The war had been going on for years before the U.S. came into it. Americans, they think that, we came in the war and that's when the war started. No, that's when the war started for the United States. The rest of the world had been at war for years. England had been fighting for years at that point, right? Even Canada was involved for years before that, but I like the fact that she considers these questions about it. When you look at what she was there to do, I also like the fact of her choosing to say, hey, is this really worth me going back in time to do? I mean, yeah, she has a job and yeah, she's going to get lots of money out of it, but it's not about the money for her, really. Do you agree?
Oh, the motivating factor is the money.
Do you think it's her only motivating factor?
At the beginning of the book, it's like, Rachel, she was looking for a job to get paid so she can live her life. She was offered $1 million to go to the past. Maybe it may or may not work. It's like, hell yeah, I'll sign up for that.
So my question to you is, did she go back only for the money, or did she go back to help the billionaire guy? To save a person. To save. Because here's the thing. Because when she's in the book, when she's in the past, she keeps on saying, should I stop the attack? Should I make an effort? So to her, the question is, do I save one man or do I save all of them? To her, that's the moral question.
Those are two questions. That's the two things that you asked me. One is, the first question is, was she motivated to go to the past because of the money? It's like, yes, because it's her job. It's not a passion thing. If you want a passion thing, they can send one of the scientists to go back and do it, right? So this is a job for her. Yeah. But the second thing you mentioned is when she went back to the past, the question she had to ask herself is like, should I save the man or save Pearl Harbor? Okay, so those are two moral things that she has to address. Remember the reporter she bumped into that came from the future to go to the past was trying to do that, but he's being shut down by the government, right? And every time he says something about the Japanese, they're like, ha ha ha, you don't know what you're talking about, right? So for her, if she ended up saying something, would someone actually believe her? You know, that's why I think she ended up saying that, okay, I can't change this overall thing, but I can change one thing. Let me try to save this person. If I can save this person, I complete my mission. I can go back to the future. The question actually she actually asked this question. Like, for her being, if she saved Andrew's father, would Andrew still be the billionaire he is now and obsessed of time travel? That's the question she asked. Would
I be able to come back?
Yes, exactly. Andrew says I'm always fascinated with time travel, so that's gonna, no matter what, it's gonna be time travel, right? There's another point in the book as well too. I'm not sure if it's if it connected or not, but when she was pressing the button to let the future know that, hey, I am good here, reply back. Right? When she tried to do that the first time, she went to the past, but she hasn't really done anything yet. So she's thinking, in my personal opinion, when I was reading it, it's like, hey, did she already change the past enough so the future does not exist? Until she ending up trying to save Andrew's father, when the time pagers start blinking, says, we acknowledge that we got your message. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So does her action only matter once she actually presses the button?
Yeah. No, the action matters when she started making that she ended up doing the motion of trying to save Andrew's father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When the timelines start to differentiate, that whole Back to the Future thing, like different parallel timelines, like, is there anything you do to change it? I mean, if you were going to go back in time and convince somebody that you know this knowledge, whatever that knowledge is, how would you convince them? You know, how would you convince them that you're a time traveler and you know what's going on? You know, that's hard because people will be skeptical. I'd be skeptical for damn.
Oh yeah,
prove
I'll
it.
be
You know,
extremely skeptical.
Yeah,
like here's the thing. You actually made a good point though. If you are in her shoes, like, I went to the past, tried to save Andrew's father, but I know enough knowledge, say, hey, if I can change this, it will make the future a lot easier to deal with, in your mind, right? But at the same time, if you end up changing the past too much, this means your future that you know changed enough that something catastrophic can happen. Right, because remember, I think for her being I think that question was actually floating around when she went back to the past already. It's like, if I change this, am I gonna change the future enough that I might not even born? You know, so that's why I'm glad that I'm glad she ended up trying to save Andrew's father instead of stopping the attack. You know,
I agree. I think that it's the old argument that if you're not willing to save one life, you know, then what's the point of saving a billion? You know, that's the argument. And I mean, really, if you put it down to a different argument, she's doing her job. That's what she's there for. You know, she might have the desire to do it. Let's take the example of the other guy who went back in time who paid to go back. his motivation seems to be fame and so forth. Now, with the knowledge that you have going back there, you could be a rich man, you could have wealth, you could know stock markets, you could do all kinds of
invest
craziness.
in Apple.
Well, I mean, here's the weird thing. You would invest in Apple in like 96, 97 when it was at the lowest stock price. And then you'd wait to 2007 when the iPhone comes out, hold 200,000 shares and be a billionaire or whatever, like who knows,
Exactly.
You'd have to know when to do it or when to sell it. Same thing with like Microsoft or something, or even today for Nvidia or whatever, people have that stock are like, yeah, cash in, Anyway, I mean, stock isn't the only thing. If you had personal knowledge of somebody, you know what I mean? Like I know you in the future or something. You go back, like if you go back and talk to your old self, man, that would be a difficult situation.
Dude, if I tell my past self, hey, you're going to do this in the future, I'll be like, you know what?
You were a dumbass, man.
You're
like,
a dumbass. What the hell, man?
I'd be like, do you have any idea how much stupid shit you're gonna do?
I know,
Seriously.
I know. But yeah, the book itself, the book itself did touch a lot of what ifs, and those what ifs is sort of like that. It sort of triggered certain things in the past can change in the future, because at the end of the book it actually did, because she ended up saving Andrew's father, from being killed in the first attack, but he ended up dying in Europe during something a few years later. Some of the people that she met ending up doing other things after they met her, but when she went back to the future, this is the part that I sort of questioned a bit. She went back to the future a few years later. Instead of 2024, she went to the future of 2027. Right? So now we're like, she's like, okay, I went to the future. What happened to all these people? So she ended up getting a synopsis of what happened to people she met in the past. That's fine. When she asked what happened to Andrew's father, it's like, oh no, he survived. Andrew and her mom moved to the U.S. He died in Europe a few years later, but she ended up remarrying, having a half brother. Blah 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 blah. Right. So everything went well on his side. Right. So she didn't really affect too much change in the future. The only change is Andrew, the billionaire, doesn't have daddy issues anymore. So that's fine and dandy, right? For me, saying that is I literally drew a line of what is a timeline, right? She went back to the past and changed something, so now it's spread out. There's almost like a branch, right? So now she's living in this timeline instead of the original timeline, right? So this is where my brain started going a little crazy in the timeline.
It messes
area.
with your head, doesn't it? Yeah.
If you dig, this is the problem with sci-fi and time travel. If an author does not do it correctly, it's just going to be super messy, right?
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, alternate timelines, the effect of it, all of that can be very complicated, and neither of us are certainly not experts in it. I mean, I have a basic understanding, but the reality is that
we have zero basic understanding of time travel. Let's just say that.
The idea of you changing something small and it having a ripple effect is something we can understand. And I think that's the argument. She was there for a couple days, and it was a ripple effect. Through time. The bed she was in the hospital and she was recovering was probably taken up by other people that were pushed out of there and pushed into a different room. And they met new people in that other room instead of the room that they were originally supposed to be in. And somehow down the line, that impacted the guy who was going to attack his sister in the park, and they never did. And so all kinds of just ripple effects, that you can't understand or even know what those are, which was what makes it very interesting, which is why in all sci-fi shows they go back and say, don't step on that bug. You could destroy humanity. You just don't
that
know.
bug probably bites some guy, and then some guy sort of died from it. But if he doesn't die from it, he became the most serious. He's the most crazy dictator that killed half the people in the world. You know, those kind of things. A little severe, but that's practically what it is.
I mean, the reality is that, you know, people always go on. I love time travel. It's one of the reasons I wanted us to read, and I'm excited to read Time Risk 2. I'm excited to see where it goes. I am curious, though, to see if the author keeps the character. I am curious if the author is going to choose something still historically accurate, like Pearl Harbor was a big deal. Maybe the author did it just because that's well known, and if they choose another event that might not be as well known, that they might lose some readership maybe with it. I'm just wondering if that was part of the motivation. What do you think?
Well, let's just be honest. We know exactly what's going to happen in the next book. We're not knowing, but we know the subject's going to be for the next book. But we're not going to tell you guys what it is, because it's going to be fun to explore this together. Because it's a very interesting timeline for the next book, because we're literally releasing the first chapters after the next episode of this, right? Am I right?
We're going to release
production work, so I have zero clues.
we're gonna release it there. Doing that next after this full book review. We're gonna start releasing the next one there. Yeah.
So the question I have, Derek, how do you rate this book?
You know, I do have my problems with it, mostly from a what the heck kind of moment with it. I did very much enjoy it. I think given the topic that the author chose, I'm going to go with a solid 7.5 out of 10.
If I review this book based on general knowledge of sci-fi and zero knowledge and expertise of timeline and time travel, I give this book an 8 out of 10 because for a few reasons. One is the main character. I love the main character. She is a very great character because she is very analytical. At the same time, she kicks ass. Second is the what if scenario of what if she ended up stopping Pearl Harbor being bombed? Would that change the course of the war? Or if she ending up stuck being in the past, is she just going to live her life the way that she lived her life then, or she's going to change it in the future? So for her future would be a lot better. So that's the thing that I like about this book. So I give it an 8 out of 10, and I can't wait for the next book to come out.
Join us next time as we review chapters 1 through 17 of Time Risk 2 by Elyse Douglas. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share a review. We love to hear from you. Send us an email at yourbookmarksinfo@gmail.com. Join us again right here where you left off.